Hey, I'm Jana and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna share with you my experience at BMT as an older person. And the reason I'm sharing that is because it is the question I am asked immediately following, why did I join so late in life? Everybody wants to know how boot camp was. So before I get started, make sure you click the subscribe button, and if you like the content of this video, give me a thumbs up. And of course, click that notification bell so that you get notified when I post other videos. So we're going to jump right in to the three things and decisions I had made prior to going to boot camp and how that impacted my experience. So the first was that I knew going in, I was going to be older, if not the oldest person in my flight, because I was so close to the age cutoff. And as a result of being older, automatically people look to you for your decisions and your behaviors. And so automatically you become a role model, whether you like it or not. So I made the decision that I was going to just lead by example. The other thing I did was decide how much I could prepare in advance for the things I could control, because I knew there would be so many things outside of my control that I wanted to handle them well by being able to be prepared for the things that were within my control. And if you watch my BMT prep video, you'll see all the things I did physically as well as mentally to prepare going to BMT. And the third decision I made was that even though I knew I was going to be older, I wasn't going to tell my age. I was going to just let them speculate. Of course, they would know I was a little bit older, but I didn't feel the need to spell it out for everyone. Unfortunately, that third decision was completely wrecked on day one. When we arrived, our flight was given paperwork to fill out when we got to our dorm, and our MTI decided we were going to fill it out as a team, question by question. And so we're about halfway through, and the question is, okay, are you over the age of 35? Well, I have to raise my hand at this point because I'm over the age of 35. And he stops everything and says, okay, I have to work with this person. Nobody do anything until we're ready to move on. So now it's pretty evident that I am the oldest and I'm over the age of 35. So kind of blew that one out of the water. Goes back to prepping what you can control. It also ties back to the decision that I was gonna lead by example, because now people definitely know I'm older and they're going to be watching me. The main thing for me is that age, I think, is a benefit. It made things easier. And the number one reason is because of perspective. When you have that many years of life compared to an 18, 19, and 20-year-old, you have a whole lot more perspective. You have a lot of experience to draw from. And so I just think in general that made things so much easier. I could let things slide that maybe many people would be upset or hurt over. I have experience of living with people that I didn't choose to live with. I went to college and I liked experiencing living with different people. And so I moved from like dorm to apartment to dorm, but I was often assigned who I was going to live with. I didn't always get to pick. Sometimes I picked some people and then was assigned the other people. And so I understand what it's like to live with somebody you didn't choose to live with and maybe not get along with them, maybe not like them, or just have a clash of personality. And maybe not even with myself, but among the other people you're living with. And then how to handle all of that, how to walk that line of giving advice, standing up for what's right. And so it's definitely something I had learned and experienced. And so it was easy for me to carry that into a situation where you're living with almost 50 other women. So I think that made that part of the journey easier for me than it would an 18-year-old who's never left home. Being older, I think it was evident that I was already disciplined, and that made things easier because nobody was trying to get me in line. They knew I was just going to follow what I was supposed to follow. That said, as a result, the MTIs expected a lot from me and put a lot of responsibility on my shoulders. I was not the dorm chief, which I'm grateful for. However, you would not realize that I wasn't, because you would often hear the words dorm chief followed by and my last name. So about 90% of the time when they called for our dorm chief, they also called for me. And more than anything, while it wasn't difficult, it was kind of exhausting when you're responsible for a lot of other people. That said, I wouldn't trade it for the world. A lot of these young ladies were so respectful. That's another thing. I automatically received that respect from them based on my age, and then by leading by example, never asking anybody to do anything I wasn't willing to do. Like, I assigned myself to the latrine crew. Ugh. But I didn't want to ask somebody to do something that was hard or difficult or gross if I wasn't willing to put myself in that position. And a lot of the ladies in our flight responded well to that. I was sought out not just for direction and guidance with regard to boot camp itself, but I was often asked a lot of just life questions, finances and marriage and you name it, it was asked of me. Dietary things, challenges they were having with their bodies. You know, I experienced a lot of questions, and I did my best to answer them and help these women through. In fact, I ended up with the name Mama. One of the other things to remember, I think, if you do go in older, is that you are older, and so everyone's behavior is going to be different, and so you can't be, obnoxious about any of the immaturity that you see or you come across. That said, I was super blessed to have an amazing flight of young ladies who were super mature, and I am grateful because I can say there was not a whole lot of immaturity in my flight, and experiencing and seeing other flights during Beast Week spoke volumes to me about the level of maturity of the ladies in my flight. So maybe that also made my experience a lot better, and the fact that I didn't have a lot of immature people to deal with, but I do believe you have to be mindful of that, where people are in life. One of the other things that I thought, how in the world am I gonna react or stop myself from reacting, is when somebody yells at me. And so honestly, it was not nearly as bad as I anticipated. Again, I think being older and having a different perspective actually helped me. The first person who really yelled at me was not my own instructor. It was day 2, and I was walking with a fellow flight member who I had not yet got to know, and we were just going to get water, and we weren't supposed to talk, but I just wanted to know her name. And so I asked her name, and he saw my mouth move and start screaming at me about why am I talking, yada, yada, yada. But he's screaming at me. And funny enough, his voice is horrific. It's scary, it's creepy, it's all of these things that you would have a nightmare about. However, in that moment, all I can think is, well, I don't imagine you're a smoker, but you sound like you almost have this creepy smoker's voice, something's not good. So then I immediately jumped to, oh my goodness, this is a medical issue. Has he had this checked out? So instead of reacting to the fact that I was being yelled at, I had to restrain myself from asking, have you seen a doctor about that? That doesn't sound so good. And since that was my initial reaction and the first time I had been yelled at, it kind of made everything else easy and simple. I thought, well, clearly I'm not concerned about being yelled at. My concern is actually for this other person. And I knew that I would be able to handle being yelled at after that fact. So again, it's perspective. Maybe an 18-year-old wouldn't be concerned with those types of things and think, goodness, that sounds like you have a medical issue. But being my age and having my experiences in life, that is what I thought of first. And so again, perspective is everything. And you gain lots of perspective the older you get and the more you go through in life. So for me, I truly believe going in older made everything so much easier. Sure, I got tired mentally, emotionally, physically, just like everyone else. But my ability to cope and my ability to see the bigger picture was a lot easier, I think, again, based on the fact that I was older. So if you have any questions that you want to ask about my experiences thus far, I'd love to hear them and make a video for you. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.